Okay, warning, small rant coming here. Body mass index. What does it really mean? And is it something we should even be measuring ourselves by? In my opinion, no, absolutely not. BMI has long been used by doctors and dietitians as a way to categorize our weight into underweight, healthy weight, overweight and obese. We get a number by dividing our weight in kilograms by our height in meters squared. Simple? Right. Not so. In fact, it's actually quite problematic. But first, let's look at where BMI actually came from. The metric can be traced back to a man named Lambert Adolphe Jacques Quetelet, a Belgian astronomer, mathematician, statistician and sociologist. Note, not a physician by any means. And he created the formula as a way to find the average man. It was never really intended that this figure would be used to determine a person's health or well-being. He created it for a Belgian male population. And the data he collected was primarily from white European males. So it really doesn't come as a surprise that it doesn't work so well if you apply it to other nations around the world, especially when considering the differences between the sexes. So why, for goodness sake, are we still using it? BMI tables are truly so limited in what they can tell us, yet they're still widely used, and they fail to incorporate any factors that might impact our weight, from the weight of our skeleton, how much muscle we have compared to fat, to things like water retention. For example, you could have a bodybuilder, someone pretty much pure muscle that weighs the same as someone with a much higher percentage of body fat, and yet they still have absolutely a very similar BMI. Bonkers. It's nuts. Because as we know, these two people, while their BMI may be similar, will have very different health outcomes. And to be honest, I really only use my weight to track significant changes. So it's really important to bear in mind that muscle is heavier than fat. So, for example, if I'm working out more, the scales probably actually increase a bit, which could be a bit depressing, but that in terms of BMI or diet culture, is considered something of a failure. But actually, it's quite the opposite. I'm getting fitter. So when I do a check-in with the scale, I'm really not worried too much about the number, but instead I consider what that means for me. Have I been working out a bit more? Or perhaps did I overindulge on a weekend away, eat too much cake? Yes, been doing that recently. But by keeping a note of these changes, I can easily adjust and make sure that I stay on track. Yes, it can be scary to weigh yourself, especially if you haven't done it in a long time. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more likely you are to keep track of any small changes. It can be really helpful. In terms of long-term weight management, I think we all know by now that the best diet isn't really a diet at all. It's just a healthier way of eating. And that doesn't mean that we have to be evangelical about things. I try to stick to the 80-20 rule of eating and drinking. So 80%, yeah, good, 80% of the time, with treats, 20% of the time. And I try not to be obsessive about it. Instead, I like to take a more mindful approach, because we can easily get decision fatigue by the end of the day. And this is why so often we can make an excellent healthy choice for breakfast or brunch if you skip breakfast like me. But as the day goes on, we get exhausted from all the choices that we have to make. So by the time dinner rolls around, well, however good our intentions were when we woke up, we're thinking, not really sure if I'm going to stick with that right now. If we're presented with a giant bowl of chips and a burger, we're probably going to eat it. Yeah, because, hey, good intentions, that was this morning. So I think the key is to plan your meals, whether you do this a week ahead of time or first thing in the morning when you wake up, doesn't really matter. Just have a bit of a plan. Take a mindful approach when eating. Consider the impact that the food might have on your body before you take a mouthful. Is it going to nourish you? Or is it an indulgent treat that's just for pleasure? That's fine, as long as it's not that all the time. In this way, we can make quality choices that over time then just become a way of life. And in taking this approach, I found that excess pounds have dropped off without me even really thinking about it, if I'm honest. And a diet that incorporates lots of leafy greens, of course, with healthy quality fats, proteins, occasional treat, really has transformed my body, more importantly, my mood, my energy, and it's freed up my mind to think about more important things than actually what the scales say. And I talk about all of this and a lot more, especially when it comes to dieting and food, in my new book, A Better Second Half. I explain how to understand what your individual set point is, and that's what governs how much our bodies weigh, and also can explain how we can kick the sugar habit once and for all. Plus, I dive into the science behind fad diets and why they crash our metabolism. It really is a one-stop shop for supporting you through midlife and beyond. So click the link below to pre-order your copy and be one of the first to read it. I think that chapter on food and weight loss is really such a good one. So what do you think about it? Is it just BMI? Do you find that helpful? Is it something that's best left in the past? As ever, do keep the conversation going in the comments and make sure that you are subscribed to never miss another episode here. Until the next time we chat, go well. I'm going to finish my cup of tea now. See you back here in a week or so. Bye.